Here we go. All right. Good morning. Welcome back. Here we go again. And happy Valentine's Day. So, in the spirit of all things love, if you can hear me, if you can see me, little heart in the chat, please, just so that we know that everything's working properly. Hearts of galore. Come on. Anyone out there? Oh, look at that. Thank you. Thank you. Got to get my heart somewhere. Anyone else get cards this morning? Because I didn't. No, not a one. Not a one. Thank you, Jamal. Brilliant. Love is in the air. Everywhere I look around. I promise I won't do that again. That's the one time you'll ever hear me sing. Right. Listen, time flies when you're having fun. It certainly has the last month. It feels like only yesterday that we were all gathered here talking about all the great features that are coming up later on in the year with Surgery Connect. We're going to be doing a little bit more about that today, but in fact, we're going to take a little deep dive into the X-Flow today, which I'm excited about for various reasons. But we're also going to touch on a couple of features that are really going to make X-Flow sing. See what I did there? No hearts, no
You're
laughs.
not going to sing.
No, all right. No, I promise I won't sing again. All right, we're going to talk about personalised call routing, and we're going to talk about enhanced caller feedback. Two things that you've been asking for. They're on their way. With me today, we've got some exciting guests. But before we get going, a little bit of housekeeping, you know the drill. Just to let you know, we are recording for prosperity and sharing purposes, so that if you need to drop off at any point, we've got it all there. You're not going to miss a thing, so don't worry about that. Second of all, we love questions, so get them in the chat, get them into the Q&A, and we'll get to them when we can throughout the call. And without further ado, my name's Lucy Glynn. If you don't know that already, I'm the community manager here at Exxon Health. With me today is the incomparable Mel Latto, head of product, award-winning head of product. But potentially even more exciting than that, forgive me, Mel, is the man, the myth, the legend, the king of X-Flow, Mr. Jamal Syed himself is with us today, operations manager at Hall Green Health in Birmingham. How are you both doing? And Jamal, you are on mute.
I'm good, thanks. It's lovely to be here today, Lucy.
Thank you. With me on Valentine's Day, you special, special man. And Mel, how are you doing?
Yeah, great.
Any cards yet?
Better with your... no, just a candle from my husband that says we
Oh.
met online, which was just a bit weird.
I'm not sure what scent matches with that, but we'll get to that later, perhaps. All right. Now, Jamal, let me start with you, because I've given you a big introduction there, deservedly so, of course. But for those that don't know, perhaps you can tell me a little bit more about who you are, where you come from.
Yeah. So yeah, as Lucy said, my name's Jamal. I'm the
Oh my God, it's a cliffhanger. We lost him just at the wrong moment. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Talk about leaving us dangling right there.
So, that's crazy.
Is he there? Is he there? Can we hear you? Oh, I thought we got a little voice then.
Is it just his video? Oh.
My apologies.
There he is. He's back in the room.
My
there we go.
device seems to like
wait,
knowing
Jamal.
when I need to do things. So I was just saying, my name's Jamal, and I am the operations manager at Hall Green Health. And my main role here is to support the practice in their processes and where we can enhance our processes, and with a particular focus in digital and what can we use, like X-Flow and Surgery Connect here. We're based in Birmingham, so quite a large practice of just under 31,000 patients with quite a large social economic diversity. And between us and our PCN, which is 3 practices in total, we're employing around 135 staff.
Wowzers. Okay, so a big imprint on Birmingham. I don't know much about when you started working with Exxon Health. So when did you start using Surgery Connect? Let's start there.
2022, I believe.
Okay.
So we had been using, for us, it was the second time we were using a cloud-based telephony solution. So we'd had some experience with it previously and what we wanted to achieve from it. And we obviously had just been kind of going through COVID and wanted to go really make sure that our resilience was there and make sure we had that ability to amend and modernize and continually modernize. So 2021, I think we started talking. It took us around a year to sort out our old contract and make sure we moved over nicely. but I think 2022. So we're coming up just to our 2-year anniversary.
Oh, see, more cards in the post. All right, and I guess I'm intrigued because you did mention you were with somebody else before. I won't ask who, but what drew you to Surgery Connect? What was the appeal?
Yeah. So previously we'd made a move because we wanted the increased Teflon lines. Our not previous, but previous to that supplier had a limited of 12 lines in and out of the practice, which I think everyone can agree is not suitable for today, and especially when you have 135 staff, that's just not going to work.
No arguments here.
And so we made a move then, and the main reason for the move from them to Surgery Connect was actually the ability to personalize the call flow ourselves. So it's a lot easier. It's a lot more picture based, drag and drop, which is always nice. And actually also just that the pricing structure is quite simple because you guys are offering everything. I'm not worrying about having to buy an additional license for this or an additional license for that. Whereas previously that was something we had to, every time I wanted to change, invariably it involved a license change, which involved signing contracts or this and that. Whereas actually you guys don't limit me on that, which is very nice because I can just make those licenses. And it just doesn't slow things down. It means you can keep the pace of the change up.
Yeah, okay. And I suppose that leads me into my next question. Any ideas why I might keep calling you the King of X-Flow? Any clue?
I think we've probably got one of the larger X-flows going. Melissa kindly pulled this screenshot off and it doesn't even capture all our call flow. And then it was one that I was very lucky that because I oversaw the move from our previous supplier, I built a call flow then, and the previous supplier built it in the system, but I'd imagined it. So when we came to doing it a second time, I'd learned lots of the lessons of what we didn't want, what we did want, and we'd learned kind of all the little features that you can do with Exxon and the call flow. And so some of the parts there are really built to improve the patient experience, and some parts are actually to improve the staff experience. And so we really, and I think all PCNs, all the ICBs out there are all kind of promoting this kind of right person first time type thing. It's kind of various names, but and so we're trying to get them to the right team. Again, being the size that we are, we've tried to go down more specialist teams. We found that historically, when we had one team dealing with so many different things, there were more mistakes happening. Inevitably, you can't have someone specialist in every area. And so to try and reduce those mistakes, those complaints, we started trying to break things down to go, actually, we have enough calls around this area to make this a specialist call center. So we've got a reception call center, we've got a prescriptions call center, we've got what we call it a planned care team call center, and that's for the recall, your long-term conditions, your routine bookings that we know we're going to have to do. We've got private work as a call center, we've got secretaries, and trying to route people to that right place at the right time is really challenging. We've got that, we know we've all got that contract where we're going to be open from kind of 8 or 8:30, depending on whether you've got cover, up till 6:30. But then have you got enough staff to have that many teams all that time? And actually no, we can't. And if we could, the teams would get distracted from the other work they're trying to do because they're taking calls all day. So really trying to go, actually, let's split down those times. And by using a call flow like this with lots of menu options and a few different calendars in the background, we've managed to really direct patients at the right time. They're not hearing options for things that aren't open, which I think is really vital for us.
Wow, I mean, it is a piece of work. It's a masterpiece, really, isn't it? It's I look at this though and I go, that's really intimidating. So I'm intrigued to know sort of where you started, because you talked about, you had some lessons with the previous supplier, and you thought very much about the path that you wanted patients to go on and things like that. But where do you start in actually building this?
So I think there's a few different ways to start this, and different aspects to consider. I think one of the key things to hold in your mind while you're doing this is, what is the time that you want the patient to be in the queue, in a going through menus? For anyone that's experienced it, when you're trying to dial your phone company or something, and you have to repeat the same wording because the AI hasn't picked you up quite right, it's incredibly frustrating. So the patient is our customer, and so we've got to try and give them the best customer experience. So what can we do? And that was with the PPG. They've listened to it, they've worked through it and tried to go, actually, we don't want it to exceed this length, and if it's longer this length at any place, it's probably too long. And then you just start breaking it into categories of, where are you trying to get the patient? Well, what is it you're trying to? What problem are you solving? On this, you can't see it, but there are some lines just going down to the bottom, and that goes to our extended access. And essentially, that's a separate call flow for us. So although it sits in this one, it's a separate one. I've used a separate voice for it to make it sound like you've gone somewhere different, because it's not Whole Green Health that's open, it's the Whole Green Health PCN that is there. So I think break it into the bite-sized chunks. Then once you've got that end goal of where are you trying to get that patient, what are you trying to achieve along the way? Are you trying to signpost them, with text messaging? Are you trying to gather some information for your call handler? So like I said, with our planned care team, when they answer the phone, because of the call, the menu, they actually get told that the patient selected diabetes or cervical screening or asthma before they've answered the call, which just gives them that little split second of going, I know what this call's about. Because we all know, as much as we want to ask questions in a certain way, patients will start the speech. You've got to give them kind of 30 seconds to get that out of their system before you go and go, okay, just take can I get your name? Can I get your date? And so you're trying to load that up. Whereas actually, if we can get some of that information first, well, actually, that's amazing for us. That's what we need to. And that, it sounds silly, but you're taking seconds off a call length. Each time you're taking a second off, you multiply that by your number of calls. You're saving mountains of time, and you're answering more calls. So I think that's really
well. As they say, every little helps.
That's it,
Who says it? Can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, quick question, I guess, to our viewers: is there anybody out there that is as confident with their Xflow as Jamal is with his? I'd love to see it. Hearts in the chat if you are. If you're not, there's going to be a lot of client relationship managers on the phone this afternoon. That's for sure. But no hearts, and nobody out there is confident with the. Go on, what were you saying, Jamal?
Lucy, is that if you're not confident, build a call flow with one of your numbers that you're not actually using, or don't make it live, and play with it. If you're doing it with a number that's not live, can't do a lot. Before, my call flow didn't look like this until we went live, because I built it and Exxon had looked at it and said, yeah, it works, it's good, here's some feedback, and then we destroyed it and rebuilt it again because we went, actually, no, this is a different direction now. And then because no patients had that, there was no harm. And just keep doing it, play with the different features. I'm unfortunately, I'm not a great person at following instructions. When I get that flat pack furniture, the instructions say I've probably built it wrong. But
you're that guy.
By doing it, I've actually gone, okay, and now understand that. And I'd really recommend get a second person to join you. Play with them, do two of you, because then actually two of you understand it. And if one of you happens to go off sick or whatever, you've got that cover, and that's really key.
And is there any one sort of block or feature on there that you think is particularly working for your community, whether that be staff or patient?
Yeah, so I think there's probably two or three. So one is the whisper function. That ability to let the staff know what they're coming into, as I mentioned, is amazingly useful. You've got the SMS part, which is really helpful, especially if you're trying to push online consultations or you're trying to push the NHS app. We've got different SMSs that you can see, some of the red ones there. We're using different SMSs for different areas, and so they're focused messages. It's really easy for you to say on the call, please visit our website. But actually, websites are quite big nowadays, and it's not always possible to have everything on that home page. So I'm going to give you the link to this specific page. It cuts down all those traffics, and unfortunately, I've seen many times, and I'm guilty of it myself. I go to the main website. If it's not within 2 clicks, I've probably left it again. So actually, just giving them that straight link. And then the final one I'd say that was a game changer for us moving over was that patient callback feature. That there is, I don't think exists something called good on hold music. whatever on hold music you have within 5
I can
minutes
sing
of
again if
listening
you
to.
like. No?
Oh, please. But anything you've listened to for more than 5 minutes just starts grating you, because you're waiting.
Yeah.
And I've heard private companies use well-known songs to those just using what I term as elevator music, and none of it is good. It's good at the beginning, and then after 5 minutes it annoys you. But actually, that ability to do that callback, and with the patients, we had complaints from patients who were like, well, I have to pay for my calls, and that's we kind of assume that that's not there anymore, because we've all moved from pay as you go to contract. But there are people on pay as you go. There are people in social economic statuses where they can't afford this. So why do we want that to be a barrier? If they can phone us and then select callback,
Absolutely.
I say Whole Green Health's picking up the bill. Well, it's included, which is even better. So
nice. And I think Mel's going to get to some further developments around the patient callback a little bit later. But in the meantime, I think there's something else you want to chat about, isn't there, Mel?
Yeah, there is indeed. So, reason we brought the King of Exflow on is because we wanted to talk about personalised call routing. I mentioned on the webinar last month that this is something that was coming, and I'm very nervous and also very excited about it, because it's not just priority. It's going to open up, oh goodness knows, all of the features and functions that it could open up. And I think Jamal has definitely alluded to a bit of that in what he's already done in his call flow, and this will hopefully streamline that even further for him going forward, because he can break cohorts of people into some of that routing process, which is really exciting for us and exciting for Jamal. But I didn't want to dictate or tell everyone how to use it, so really wanted to talk to Jamal about how he was going to use it and what benefits that will bring him. So I don't know if anyone will remember looking at this last time, but I'll just go through. These are some of the ideas. So the routing block, again, in that nice Xflow drag and drop format, will just be a block that you can drop into your call flow, and then you can define what the cohorts are that you want to move through to different areas. You get to label this up. It's completely within the surgery's remit to do. So having that confidence to have a bit of a play, as Jamal has alluded to, is definitely important. But I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to actually give anybody some ideas around this. So I just wondered, from your perspective, Jamal, if you could just talk about some of the biggest benefits you can see for your patients to use this as a service.
Yeah, Melissa, I think just before I go into that, I think one of the things I think is really important is that whenever something like this comes out, you start with the simplest stuff, and then you move up. There's a million and one ways we could use this. There's a million and one ways my brain goes, I'd love to do this, or I'd love to do that. For the same reason that you're excited and nervous, I'm excited and nervous, because the tech is what allows me to do it, but then I need a process to do it right in the practice. And what I don't want to be doing is, by trying to benefit a group, I accidentally disadvantage a different group. So when I've been having a think around that, I think what I say today is probably going to be completely different to what I'm doing in a year, because we'll find new things we can do with it. But I think for us, we've got a call line for palliative care patients existing at the moment, and a lot of patients don't know that necessarily what that term is, or are they the right person for it, or potentially patients abusing it because it's a quicker way to get through. So actually being able to put them in and really make sure we're looking after those patients, I think, is really vital for us. And so and the beauty of being able to use kind of a call routing there would be, we can take that option out of our menu, thus making the menu quicker for everyone else as well. So both palliative care patients and all our other patients are benefiting. I think then we're going to be looking at our housebound patients. We've got a piece of work to do first to make sure our housebound patients are our housebound patients. Cleaning up those lists, that's always the fun part. And then we've just got to we've got to start thinking about what are our at-risk patients, and that at-risk, I say openly, is different for different areas. That could be people who are living on their own. It could be the elderly. It could be the frail. It could be those with multiple comorbidities. The sky is really the limit there. And I do really like the fact that you guys have left it up to me. I'm nervous because you've left it up to me, but I'm liking the fact that we've got that ability there. And then I
Yeah,
think
it was really important to us to make sure that, you know, we don't want to make your business processes any more complicated than they have to be already, because you've got so many overheads that you need to consider already. So, and that's half of the reason that we work the way we do. We give the, you know, the power to the surgery to, because everybody's different, as you've alluded to earlier. You've, you know, 135 staff, you look after a PCN, you've got a big demographic, but you've also got, you know, almost like a business run surgery, haven't you? You're running it as business operations, like you said, call centers for each of the areas that you're feeding people off. And then we've also deal with surgeries that are, you know, small and only got a couple of reception team and a few doctors, because they're, you know, in the middle of a field in out of the city.
Then you've got a few kind of projects that you can do. So just giving some people some ideas, you've got kind of people that have been recently discharged from hospital. You could start trying to prioritize them to try and stop readmittance and stop duplication of you know, appointments. And then looking at the slightly negative, you've got patients that are aggressive, or things that you may want to route to more experienced call handlers. You know, I think we've all been there where you've had someone that's been aggressive, and experienced call handlers may be able to handle it or know how to handle that person, whereas a newer member of staff may get more upset or not be able to handle it, or may escalate it by accident. So actually being able to route people in that way can be just important. I think that becomes very complex from a practice point of view of who do we add, how do we add them, but the sky's the limit.
Yeah, there was another surgery that I was speaking to a few weeks ago, who said they'd definitely be using it to direct their learning difficulties, because they have a specialised team that deal with the people with learning difficulties, so that they didn't have to go through the complex menu options, and they could really see a benefit around that. And palliative care is definitely something that is coming up quite a lot as well when speaking to other people. But as the king of Exflow, obviously we like to know what your thoughts are. I like that Lucy has given you this label officially now. Forever will be the king of Exflow for us.
I like that it's stuck.
Yeah. So we talked about the benefits. I meant a little bit about those demographics. Is there any other areas that you feel that you could use this for? Obviously, I'm thinking more along the lines of in various menu options, because you can put this at the front or you can put it throughout some of the other parts of your process.
Yeah. So I think, you know, that there's a few factors. One is we kind of focused on patients when we were talking about that, but actually looking at how can we support colleagues, so local pharmacies, local hospitals, and their numbers, because actually it's really challenging us giving out our professional line. One, to know who we've given it to and who we've not, and the second is to make sure that patients aren't using it. So again, being able to go, actually they can all phone the same number, but we can route them straight off the bat. Amazing, you know, that really helps us. And I think then when you start getting down to the groups, again, we could start trying to use this to support with our planned care team, knowing what the patient has got. You know, is that patient a diabetic patient? Do we want to play them something beforehand? For cervical screening, you know, one of the biggest blockers to cervical screening is information. Well, could we play them something quickly before they speak to the call handler? That I'm trying to look at we've got various scripts for different areas, and some of them are official, some of them are non-official, kind of they're just what people have started saying. But can we standardize that? My biggest problem with having so many staff is that people say different things, and it's trying to make sure everyone's saying the same thing. And so actually being able to record that. Could we record that with a doctor's voice or a nurse's voice to actually go, this has more impact? You know, before you get through to the person, this is Dr. X. I'm just going to give you a bit of information about this. This is what to expect, you know, or can we do that after their call, you know, once they've done with the operator? Things like that, I think, are really, like I said, the sky's the limit on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And your doctors are going to love you making them do all the voice recordings. I'm sure that, but your patients, like, again, it's just that confidence, isn't it, that you're being told the information by not necessarily an automated voice. What would be the one thing that you definitely wouldn't use this for?
So I don't think I'd be using this to stop patients in any way. I think, you know, patients have that right to call us. It's part of our contract, it's part of our need. So what I don't want to do is when we do anything is inadvertently I don't want to disadvantage anyone. I don't want to accidentally. I want to evaluate each of the types, but I think one of the key parts is that, you know, it's similar to using online consultations. You know, there are a cohort of patients that is amazing for, and it helps speed everything up. There are a cohort of patients that will never be able to access that, and I don't want to stop them getting the care they need. But if I can move patients that can use that into that queue, then that's a win. You know, so it's trying to identify how can we help people but not disadvantage, and I think that's a really key, and sometimes harder than you think to try and do.
Yes, challenge. So when I launch this to you, which will hopefully be in a few weeks, because you're going to be one of our early pilots to make sure it's all working properly and you can get it into your call flow, where do you think you're going to start? What are you most excited to implement it for?
I think clearly the starting point for me is going through our call flow and going, what questions or menu options can I take out for people so that I can shorten that call flow, so that we, from the staff point of view, it's the same experience, but from the patient point of view, you improved. And then following that, it's going, okay, we've now done that first phase. What could we start doing? How can we start improving? I mentioned that hospital one, which I think is, for me, hospital discharges is a great one to do, but I need to make sure there's a key process in practice if we're going to do that. So ones like that, they're going to have to wait. The ones where it's not going to change a process in practice, they're going to be my starting points.
Yeah, I guess that's really key, isn't it? Making sure that you've not impacted those business processes, or if you need to introduce new ones, that everyone's really aware of how to manage it and move it forward. Hopefully it's going to be a very successful launch.
And I think just as well, you know, once we've done those ones, it's about engaging the staff. What are the issues they're having? Because I can't know them all. So I can only know the ones that I've been made aware. So there's probably another 20, 30, 100 that I'm not aware that are problems out there that we could try and fix. And if I'm engaging with those, that the expert users, they're going to be the ones I want to get the information from.
Fantastic. No, that's brilliant. I think that leads quite nicely into me just reminding everybody about our patient callback enhancements. So as Jamal mentioned earlier in the call, Patient Callback is a fantastic piece of software that's added into Xflow, but we've actually made some improvements to this. So but everyone is going to get this. It was going to be launching in March. I think it will be the 4th of March. So because the 1st is a Friday, and we never ever launch anything on a Friday because that would be dangerous. So this will be coming. But you will need to make a change to ensure that this is set up. So anyone that's using Patient Callback at the moment would need to go into Patient Callback and add in these new functions. They are just simply within the block, and you'll just need to delete the block out and put it back in again, just to make sure it's the new block with the new added functions, which will then allow you to turn on an SMS, which are free for the patients to get an SMS to a link to be able to see where they are in their queue position. It will also allow people to opt in at any point during queuing to get that patient call back. So at the moment they have to pick it before they join the queue, and now it will allow them to be in the queue and be actually, no, I want to get a call back for this. And also the other small change is that we currently tell you where you are in the queue, which can be controlled by the surgeries. So if they have 10 people queuing, patient callback will kick in. Now it can actually work on time as well. So if you've got a queue that's 30 minutes, but there's only 3 people in the queue, you can have it set at a 30-minute cutoff so that people can get the patient call back in. So there's a couple of little extra bits in there. Just want to make you all aware. We will post it around on our socials as always. We'll get it in the monthly newsletter. We'll probably put a banner on the user console because we love to communicate with you in every single way possible, just to make sure you're getting the best out of these features. But we just want to remind everyone, you must remember to turn this on if you want to get these benefits. It's not something that we can do because your call flow needs to be deployed, and we don't want to make changes to things that you've got automatically there. And Jamal kindly reminded me at the beginning of this session that I talked about patient check and cancel time and time again, and told you all it's been in pilot. We've had a couple of comments on the Facebook group. I just want to iterate that this is still in pilot, but it's in pilot with regards to us making some changes. So what we've been trying to do is ensure that it's really fit for purpose. So we went to pilot, I think it was back end of last year now, and our pilots actually identified a few areas of improvements that we were working on. So we have been working through that. Really sorry, someone has just looked in the door because I am at the end of the meeting time and the room is wanted. So yeah, it will be coming. I'm actually hoping that it will be signed off by mid-March, because those enhancements are now about to go back in to our pilots to make sure that they're working as expected. So do watch this space, and I haven't forgotten about it. Don't worry, it is coming.
Can we get a heart if you're excited about check and cancel? You can join in, Jamal, because I know you're excited. There's one. Oh, there's two. There's three. Good. Everyone's still out there. Brilliant. Well, I guess that's it from us today. It's been a real pleasure to have you on the call, Jamal. So thanks for joining us. And I suppose it's prudent to say that if anybody wants any more information from things that have been talked about today, get in touch with your client relationship manager or the training team. They'll be happy to talk you through it. We'll make the recording available in the next few days so everyone can access this and relive the beautiful magic that was Jamal's workflow and Xflow and everything else. In the meantime, if I don't see you before next month's webinar, we will be at Best Practice in London, stand E15. Don't swing through without coming and saying hello. And in the meantime, it just remains for me to say a very happy Valentine's Day. Have a good rest of February, and we'll see you in March for more. Stay lovely, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.